Bienvenue sur Paris 13 Lab, le média dédié à la culture urbaine asiatique. Dans cette nouvelle série de reportages, on vous amène au Danemark pour vous présenter les acteurs de la culture asiatique à Copenhague. Au cours des 7 épisodes, vous ferez la rencontre de restaurateurs, stylistes, entrepreneurs ou encore DJ qui excellent dans leur domaine. Qu'ils soient originaires d'Asie ou du Danemark, chacun d'eux contribue à faire vivre la culture asiatique dans la capitale danoise. Ils suivent des parcours passionnants, parsemés d'histoires formidables que vous allez découvrir dès maintenant. Pour ce second épisode, nous sommes allés à la rencontre de Uki et Patrick, le premier danois de parents immigrés japonais et le second métis danois et japonais né en Asie, qui tous deux portent le concept Ramen to Biru, ramen et bière.
Hi, I'm Uki. I'm a co-founder of Ramen to Biru. Nationality Japanese, born and raised in Denmark.
Hi, I'm Patrick, General Manager at Ramen to Biru. Half Japanese, actually born in Indonesia, and from there to Tokyo, where I've been living half my life, and moved back to Copenhagen in '98.
Originally studied fashion design in Japan, came back, but has been in the restaurant business with my family for since I was a kid, and came back in '98 to start the restaurant adventure. Back then, you know, tagging was really interesting for many, but we like to get approval and then make some bigger pieces on walls and stuff like that.
The keyboard was the first thing that I got my hands on and loved it, and then I got my dad's bass guitar and loved that even more. What we do here at Ramen to Biru also has a lot to do with music, because it's something that we're passionate about, and it's something that means something to us. And playing music, you also learn to play in a band, and I think that experience has also shown me that there are relations to music and to many other industries, the food and beer industry also, where you have to learn to play together.
A quick note is that I have another Japanese restaurant currently, but also always hiring Japanese staff or half Japanese or Japanese related people. And we had 2 young brothers working there for a long time. And when we were starting up Ramen to Biru, we were looking for more staff, and he told us about Patrick. As the only one, been here from day one, and has raised to his position he is in now as a general assistant or a general manager for Ramen to Biru, and a very important asset for the whole company, because he knows the DNA of the company, and he knows our goals, which has changed a lot during the time. We started out with this shop as the first shop ever. Weren't sure if that's going to be, evolving to anything else with the project and the work. I mean, we developed quite fast. At the moment, we have 4 locations in Copenhagen, like in the north here, Nørrebro, in Vesterbro, the second one in West Copenhagen, east, and then in Frederiksberg, which is like a city inside of Copenhagen. We're working on a location outside of Copenhagen in Malmö. We're working on the airport, and then we have another location that we're also working on. So we have 3 new locations that we're actively working on at the moment. The concept Ramen to Biru, which means ramen and beer, is because it's a venture between me and Mikkel Bjergsø, who has Mikkeller. And we've talked about doing something together for a long time. At the time when we spoke about it, he was just preparing a lot of things in Japan. his Mikkeller bar in Japan. One day when Mikkel came down to Bento, he was asking me if we could do something. And I told him about the ramen, and he told me that he loved ramen. While he was eating lunch, I went outside to call my friend in Japan, who's now the head chef of Ramen Nobito. And I asked him whether he was interested. And I had to convince his wife over the phone at the same time. But that took 5 minutes. He was like, yeah, go ahead. So he came, roughly a month later. I was born and raised in Denmark with Japanese parents. Went to Japan roughly once a year. And there was a lot of things that, immediately grabbed my attention that we didn't have in Copenhagen. I think having the interest of Japan as a Dane, looking from a Danish perspective, like what would a Dane find funny, and that's what we tried to do here, having some new and old and some clogged up things, and the stupid machine that all the tourists always like, how do we use this? Mm-hmm. The vending machines you have on every corner of Japan, and but still have the rough and the nature and everything involved in the same space. The ramen concept is, you don't have to have like 10 years of experience and whatnot. This is a dish that originally came in from China, started at the harbor of Yokohama. With a small stand and some Chinese people doing chicken stock noodles, and Japanese people just, as they do with many other concepts, if they like it, they take it in, try to make it their own, change it a little bit, but in a way that they like it. In Japan, we have a lot of vegetarian dishes, but it would never connect to ramen. It will be like Japanese noodles like soba. Now that we're going to open in Malmö in Sweden, where the vegetarians and vegans are much stronger than the Danes, we definitely have to work hard and give them some nice vegetarian dishes as well.
I've always been interested in food, and have always been interested in ramen growing up in Japan. And my dad's Danish, so we've always been drinking beer. So, and the combination of both ramen and beer is just like, it's awesome, it's fantastic, it works. And as soon as I heard about this project and that they were hiring and that they were looking for someone, then I came knocking quite a few times. And yeah, I've been here since, and it's been an amazing, fast journey. I never thought that we would have 4 shops right now, and that the community here in Copenhagen really likes Japanese style ramen and good beer, craft beer. I lived in Japan for half my life. So we moved back to Copenhagen when I was 12. It wasn't the hugest cultural change, because I came back. It's kind of like the opposite story with Uki. Like, I came back to Copenhagen once a year with my family to see my Danish relatives here. And then in '98 we moved back. I still go back to Japan, obviously, to see some friends and to see the family out there.
My mom, she actually came from Tsuji, which is the Tokyo cooking school where she taught as a teacher, and she wanted to learn something new. She thought that Scandinavian food was not popular in Japan. She came to Denmark to study Danish food culture. And at the same time, my dad, he was in the US and then later went to Italy to study Italian food culture. And he wanted to go back to Japan to introduce pizza. My mom, she wanted to go back to do open sandwiches. But they both fell in love with Denmark, and they decided to get married. And since I was young, they were doing Danish food, basically Danish Italian fusion. So there wasn't much Japanese food involved back then, besides from what we were eating at home. And as I mentioned earlier, I was in Japan studying to become a fashion designer, and I worked after graduating, I worked for several years in Sapporo in northern Japan. Yeah, being a Japanese by appearance but Danish by person, it's very hard to work in Japan because I didn't understand everything. Obviously got me into a lot of conflicts. But then when I started working with food, it immediately grabbed me also because of all the help I've done earlier or prior when I was a kid. It kind of like came back. And then all of a sudden it kind of turned something on. I found it funny and nice and interesting, and I kind of like the idea that, you know, all these feelings I had about my own culture and interest, I could kind of use that and also, you know, show this to my friends and to all others here in Denmark.
Once I started living in Copenhagen, I mean, for me, it's very much, they both feel like home. So for me, I've never really had a huge issue moving from one place to the other. Living in Copenhagen, then I'll feel a little homesick and would want to go back to Japan, and living in Japan, would want to go back to Copenhagen, back to Denmark, because I've got family and friends both locations, but I've never felt more Japanese and more Danish. Yeah, I feel like both.
I can't deny my Japanese roots, but on the other hand, I can't deny that I was born and raised in Denmark either. So there was a time where I said I was Russian because, you know, it's like that's somewhere between Japan and Denmark, and I wasn't fond of America at that point, so not that Russia is any better, but anyways, now I'm just a Japanese born and raised in Denmark.
Paris,
Très Lab.
Thanks for having us,
Big
man.
shout out.
Big shout outs.
Cet épisode touche à sa fin. On se retrouve très vite pour un nouvel épisode sur la chaîne YouTube Paris 13 Lab.